happy to go through it. Awesome. So I will start off. I am Gabriela Ferreira. Today I'm your ERC expert. For anybody who's wondering what that is the Employee Retention Credit, which falls under the CARES Act. It's a relief measure that's been put in place to help get businesses back on their feet after going through COVID. And this is something that's going to be available to businesses who have already taken advantage of the PPP loans. So before we lose anybody, it's one of the misconceptions we're going to be uncovering today. So just our brief agenda for today. We'll just do a slight overview of the Employee Retention Credit. We're going to run over some of those misconceptions and how people are, coming to believe that they may not be eligible, but they really are. And we have some of our successful case studies to go over today that share just some of the credits that we've been able to get our previous clients back. And we will leave a little time for Q&A. Awesome. So to start off, the Employee Retention Credit as a whole, this has been put in place by the government. They want you to take advantage of it. When I talk about this credit, I treat it like going to the DMV. It's incredibly difficult. You don't know how long you'll be in line, but it is a government incentive that is available to you, and they want you to take advantage of it. And that's why people like Leyton exist. This credit can be complex, the legislation constantly changing. Is right here we have it showcased where in 2020, the maximum claim for the entire year is $5K per employee retained, whereas in 2021, legislation changed that on a quarterly basis, you can claim up to $7K per employee per quarter. So this is a maximum benefit of $26,000 per employee pending eligibility. And this is a huge deal, $26K per employee. A lot of people have seen some rough days and they've just not been able to get back where they were operating, prior to 2020. And the government has this out here to be able to get you back on your feet. And I bet a lot of you are sitting there wondering, well, how do I qualify? How do I know? Why isn't my CPA talking to me about this? Chances are your CPA probably does know about it, but the legislation constantly changing. There's different qualifications. It's just hard for them to keep up, which is why, like I mentioned, somebody like Leyton exists. We're on top of this. Our consultants are experienced in the legislation changes. We stay up to date on it. We're able to maximize these credits for you. And these qualifications, so this is not an and or, this is you just need to fall under one of these. The first one being you experience a significant decline in gross receipts. Now, this changes all based on 2019 gross receipts. You had to have a 20% reduction in 2021 compared to 2019 and a 50% reduction compared to 2019 during 2020. And if you did not have one of those, decline in gross receipts, you also can fall under having a partial or full closure due to COVID-19, where we see a lot of this are restaurants or hotels where the cleaning schedules were changed. You had to, shut down, wipe down, clean before the next person came in. Maybe it was the nail salon, what be the industry. If you had any impact into your normal business hours and when and if you were able to service patrons, that's going to qualify as a partial closure due to COVID. And a lot of people who weren't eligible in 2020, you may now be eligible, which is why we encourage you to, click the link that we're sending here in the chat today. Any questions can go out to Jamie too if you want to have that link afterwards. Schedule the call. It's a half an hour of your time to figure out if you are eligible for it, and you have absolutely nothing to lose and thousands of dollars to leave on the table. I'm just going to take a brief pause and see if we have any questions in the chat. It's hard to see all at the same time. Doesn't look like anything yet, so I'll keep going. Awesome. So PPP loans, how do they affect us? Can I qualify if I had a PPP loan? Yes, you can still claim ERC even if you received a PPP loan. The only way it's going to impact it is that we can't double dip. So the same wages that you were used for that PPP loan cannot be applied for the ERC. But there are certain regulations that have changed in terms of ERC, such as the salary cap for PPP loans. The highest salary cap was 100K, whereas ERC, we're not seeing that. There's different ways that working with somebody like Leyton, we're going to be able to open the hood, go under, and do a full optimization study as to whether or not you're claiming, as much as you can. If you fully use the PPP loan, if there's percentages left that we can apply there forward, we're going to be able to do all of that and be able to uncover that with our consulting team. And some of the common misconceptions we see are that, we're not profitable and we don't have any tax liability, so we don't qualify. This is not true. There is a recovery startup retention credit as well available to anybody who is not yet profitable or not paying income tax. Again, we see that with the, well, I didn't have a reduction in gross receipts. My uncle ran a pizzeria and he took off with takeout during COVID, but he had that cleaning guideline. He wasn't able to see anybody inside. They had to, really go in and change their whole process as to how the staff was keeping their hands clean, how the sanitation of the restaurant as a whole. That is considered a partial shutdown in the eyes of the IRS. Another issue we're seeing is that, there's some payroll providers out there that are filling out a form and claiming it. For some people, that might be the right direction. But what we're asking and we're willing to do is an optimization study. Send it over. We'll make sure that you were able to claim that all you were able to claim. And, we do work with CPAs, and 9 out of 10 times, they'll kick us over the work they've done. And we're able to find, 20, 30% more than they were able to, just because it's so impossible to stay on top of these legislative changes, as well as just the natural bandwidth of your CPA. They're doing so much more beyond this ERC. So to be able to do it right and do it well is why somebody like Leyton exists, to be able to, pop open that hood and make sure you're claiming all that you are. The other reason we like to say that, making sure you're doing it right, the IRS recently changed as well the timeline of the look back period to be able to do audits on these. And it was 3 years. They recently changed it to 5. That right there tells us that the IRS is going to go over these with a fine-tooth comb. So you want to make sure that you're doing it and you're doing it right. All right, I see there's something in the chat. So Jamie said, are workers going to remote work environments qualify as a partial shutdown or disruption of business? So Jamie, that link that Olivia popped in there, I encourage you to go in because it's completely dependent upon industry and there's different things to, answer that yes or no. Book the meeting, spend a half hour on the phone and ask the questions to get fully qualified, because it's really going to depend upon the industry that you're working in. If you are still here, Jamie, you can feel free to pop in and let me know what industry we're working with. Maybe we can dive a little deeper. But I encourage everyone who is listening to this to pop on the link that Olivia has shared for us and speak with the consultants. You can really dig really deep. We have them in all sorts of industries and they're able to answer all of your questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Jamie, what industry are your guys in?
Well, we have some like grocery store, but that's not really remote work. This was like kind of a consulting firm where the whole firm went remote, and we're dealing with like times where the workers' families were also their kids were in school remote. So like you could argue that they weren't really as productive as they would have been in the office. So
so that can be tricky if they're able to still continue doing the work that they were able to do in the office. It's probably not going to qualify. It's a case by case basis. But if you can do the same work you were doing at home that you were doing in the office, and as we know, a lot of parents think they're doing a lot better at home. Time's a little bit easier. It's on their side. That's not always going to be a hard-hitting qualifier. It just kind of depends on the industry.
Okay, great. Yeah, but it's good to know that I can just reach out and check in with you guys about various situations with different types of companies. So
absolutely. Good. And that's, like I said, the link that Olivia dropped too. That first half-hour call, completely complimentary. So there's no skin off your back to kind of jump on there. Anybody who's interested in learning more, we certainly encourage you to just have the conversation.
Great. Thanks, Gabriella.
Of course. And the other point I wanted to mention is that ERC is not going to be around forever. We don't have an exact time limit on it, but it's something that, under the CARES Act, it will eventually expire and the money will run out. So if you're thinking about doing it, you should have done it yesterday. get the call scheduled, use the link Olivia dropped, and get time with our consultants, because this is not going to be here forever. So the first case study that we wanted to bring up was in the education industry. This is a client of ours, and their qualifier was the significant decline in gross receipts. So this was 20% compared with 2019. And for them, they were claiming the first 2 quarters of 2021. So like I mentioned before, this is on a quarterly basis. So it really depends on maybe Q1 of 2021, you were really affected, but by Q3 you bounced back. You're still able to claim because that Q2 you had the gross decline. And these guys did have a small PPP loan to help cover some of those payroll wages. And they had over 108 employees in 2021. So all employee wages up to 10K were eligible, which got them $1 million claim back, which is just, hugely impactful for somebody that had to go through something like COVID and not be able to, compensate in a way that they would have normally. And our next case study is a hotel client of ours. We've seen a lot of hotel clients recently, just of course, naturally being impacted by COVID. So these guys had a significant decline of 50% Q2, Q3, Q4, and a government shutdown in Q1. So for them, of course, they're seeing a significant decline in gross receipts. And this claiming period was through the second quarter of 2021. So in addition to their PPP loans, they had 70 employees during peak and 40 during their down season, and they saw an over $300,000 claim come back to them. This is going to vary by industry, but we are seeing ERC case studies where people had never even heard of it. Their CPA might have mentioned it, and they're just absolutely bewildered. We worked with Lark Hotels as well, and we have a case study we could circulate. If you have more questions, you can certainly, reach out to us, reach out to Jamie, and we're happy to share some more of these case studies surrounding ERC with you. It's really helpful to see it broken down by industry as to, how they were affected, how many employees, and what their claims coming back are looking like. And as I've kind of mentioned going through this, why choose a specialist? We are trained in this. We are doing this day in, day out. We've got tax attorneys, we've got consultants and a team of experts that are staying up to date on the tax code. We're going to make sure you're claiming 100% of what you're able to be claiming. And not only that, but we're fully substantiating the report provided to the IRS, which is going to be your first line of defense, for really substantiating the claims that are being made. And you want to make sure, like I said, having that look back period from the IRS, everything is in a row, it's been done right, it's been done by people you trust and people that the IRS knows are up to snuff. Just a little bit about Leyton. If you haven't heard about Leyton, we have been around since 1997. We are in over 12 countries. This is probably outdated because we are growing so rapidly. I think in the last 6 months alone, we're up to 14, 15 countries. We started off in France, and as research and development and other tax credits become permanent here in their countries, home countries, they'll open up offices. So we've been in the US since around 2015. And just in the last year alone, Leyton did 1.5 billion in tax credits for businesses. Let's see something in the chat. And it's just Olivia sharing this great link for everybody to be able to hop in and schedule time. And I can open it up if we have any other questions or clarifications from anybody. Please feel free to pop those in the chat. I will hang out a little bit and see if we have any questions that come in. But other than that, I highly encourage you to click onto the link that Olivia is posting in here for us. Like I said, that first call, entirely complimentary. Our fee structure is percentage based on the credit that's identified. So there's really no skin off your back to be able to sit down, open the hood, see what's going on inside, and if you qualify. And then if you choose to move forward, all more power to you. Awesome. So feel free to take yourself off mute too if you'd like to ask any questions. Pop them in the chat. Happy to answer anything. And thanks so much for Jamie hosting us. Jamie is a great and trusted and loved partner of Leyton, so we greatly appreciate having the time and visibility to get in front of your people.
Well, thank you. It's so fun to work with you guys, and I really appreciate everyone showing up today. And yeah, Leyton's the best. You got to go with the best with these things, because it's, you know, one of those things that it's like, it's really helpful to have someone who really focuses and is wholly focused on it to make sure it's done right.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you, Gabriella, for the awesome presentation.
Yes, our pleasure. So like I said, use that link from Olivia, reach out to Jamie, reach out to us. We're happy to answer any questions.
Great.
Awesome. If we don't have any questions, you know, we can probably conclude this webinar, but we greatly appreciate everybody's time today and look forward to hopefully seeing you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.